Um, One of the things I find specifically interesting is that after the 9/11 attacks, there was never really any particular inquiry or question or even concern as to the mental illnesses that might have been implicit in some of the 9/11 attackers. Clearly wasn't important because the attacks were clearly extremely political and followed the pattern of previous political attacks and came after a ideological conflict. Crazy ideals will find crazy people to carry it out. This gentleman who did the shooting in Tucson is clearly schizophrenic from what I can see. But the kind of rhetoric that the Tea Party has been producing in the past year is so insane that it's literally targeting a schizophrenic. It's hard to see how a person of sound mental mind could take anything that's been coming from Sarah Palin or Jeff Beck seriously. And the thing is, I mean, you've seen all the Republicans getting up here and being very, very defensive about this and claiming that, you can't tag it on this. For those of you who remember McVeigh, we've been through this before, okay? The thing is in McVeigh, they could make a defense. The Democrats McVeigh tended to end a lot of the swing to the right that was going on in the early 90s. The center tended to move back to the Democratic Party because it was seen that the rhetoric that they were bringing against Clinton, he was a communist, he was destroying the country, he was undermining the country, how dare he try to do health care, he was going to let gays in the military, he was a communist, ruining socialist, destructive to the country. And this rhetoric pumped up and up. The Republican Party, dominated by its class of extremely wealthy people, used its media outlets to get isolated people who have lost their economic positions because of the very reforms that the Democratic and Republican parties have pushed through in America that have made working class and lower middle class poorer and poorer. They become isolated. They provide them an easy enemy. They pump them and pump them and pump them and try to get them to the polls. And once they get them to the polls, they elect Republicans. And the Republicans go in and basically cut taxes for the wealthiest people who back the Republican Party. That's the way the system works in America. That's since Reagan left, the Republican Party hasn't been able to find a positive message. So it's always doing this. It did this when it was out of power under Clinton. This is the second time this happened. This happened with McVeigh. This has already happened already. I mean, and frankly, I wasn't at all surprised. I mean, I just knew it was just a matter of time before something like this happened. I mean, it was in this case a shooting. It was going to be a bombing or something. I mean, it was being ratcheted up piece by piece by piece. And even knew before it happened, it's like, oh boy, we're going to be getting the defensive conservatives saying, somehow that the Tea Party, going dressed up in, their big tricorner hats, slave holder hats, and waving these yellow flags and such, that that this was discourse. This was conversation. This was discourse. That the screaming, the threatening, the talking about reload, the lock and load, and don't even go where Sarah Palin is. Hopefully she's finished, but this is already. I mean, the problem the Republicans are going to have on this isn't the first time. That's just that simple. This is exact McVeigh. Clinton won. Democrats had control of Congress. They made some reforms. The core Republican Party didn't like the reforms, so they went out and they turned Clinton into the biggest villain, and they talked about gun rights, and they talked about communism, and they talked about there was a conspiracy to take over the world, nutty stuff. There were black helicopters then. Nowadays there's a universal currency, a new world order, blah, 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 blah. And they kept going and kept going and kept going until they made political gains on it. And then one day, some nutcase acted out what they were talking about. And then they came and said, well, you can't blame our legitimate political discourse. And, from what I've seen in the service, a large percentage of people did. I certainly did. Yeah, it was obvious. And McVeigh wouldn't have happened without this endless pumping that was being provoking. It's happened again. So, literally fool me once, shame on you, but fool me twice, shame on me. This has happened again. You got a Republican government lose control of the Democrats. The Democrats have Congress and they have the president. The exact same strategies that the Republicans have been implementing ever since Reagan left of just, terrorize these people who are losing their positions, terrorize them about their guns, terrorize them about foreigners, terrorize them about immigrants, terrorize them about socialism, communism, blah, blah, blah. And then once this insane rhetoric is acted out by an insane person, claim you didn't mean. But the thing is, what I'm looking at the Republican talking heads this Sunday morning, they know they're in hot water because why they should be surprised this happened. Because there's been a number of people stopped who tried to do this already. It was only a matter of time before somebody was going to get through. Why they should be at all surprised that this happened is shocking to me because we knew it was going to come. The thing also is this is the second time, and it's just McVeigh. Democrats, had Congress, Republicans come in, they do all this big thing, they take control of Congress. McVeigh blows up the Oklahoma City federal building. Okay. There's also reports from Homeland Security that if it's true, and this has probably come after they searched his house, that he is a group connected to a group called American Renaissance. If you go to the American Renaissance webpage, if it is still there, amren.com, they are packed full of pro-Tea Party stuff. They are a Tea Party supporting group. They're on the far right of it, but they're in there. So, what's going to happen? It's going to happen a lot like what happened Clinton. Obama's going to come out stronger. The Democrats are going to be concerned. The Republicans are going to have to play defensive. Do the Republicans then retreat into investigations? It's hard to see them investigating Obama. It's hard to think of a cleaner politician than Obama. It's really, not that they haven't really been able to find really anything dirty on him. There's some money he made in Chicago on real estate. But, compared to some of the things that could have been investigated, like exactly how the Iraq War started, I don't think it's really much of an issue. But, anybody who's going to sit there and say, well, you can't blame this on the GOP or anything like this, it's like, really, well, parents know they have kids who will come and look all innocent when something gets fucked up once, and the parents will forgive it. But people are stupid. It's not 3 strikes, you're out. Humans are smarter. Humans, it's not baseball. It's soccer, you get 2 notices and that's that, and we're like, okay, you 15 years ago you told us it wasn't your fault, and now it just happened again and you're telling us it isn't your fault. And it's literally, if I've messaged to the conservative, actually every Tea Party member out there is going to say that, go fuck yourself.